happy quarantine, everybody. My name is Charles Givry, and I am a data scientist, and I'm going to show you today how to use some new functionality in Apache Drill to directly query a REST interface and put together a simple dashboard. Thank you very much. Enjoy. So the first thing we need to do is we need to take a look at the data, see what's there. So I have on the screen the covidtracking.com, which has a bunch of really nice APIs that we're going to use. So link will be in the description below. All right, now let's just take a look here. You should be seeing this. We can take a look at the current state data. We just had JSON here, and we can see we go back. This is just yesterday and today. All right, so historic state data, this starts yesterday and goes back. In general, though, this data looks pretty good. It's clean. It's in a nice format that we can use. We're going to be in good shape. Now, the next step that we have to do is we have to get Drill to connect to this API. Since this is a public-facing API, there's really nothing that we need to do. There's no authentication, no proxy, none of that stuff. So all we need to do is just get the URL, which is here, and then we go to Drill storage. We click on our API tab here, and we can just add it right here. And you can see there's a bunch of other configurations, but for this, none of it's applicable. And then we hit update, and good to go. Okay, so now that we have this, we can open up our Drill UI, and let's just take a quick look here and see what actually is in the data. So I've been doing some experimenting here. I'll talk through this in a second, but let's just say we wanted to see what's here. So we can just say select star from api.covid, which is what this API is called, and then any trailing information we need in the tabs, we hit run query, and you can see that this is pretty quick. Oh dear. All right, let's close that. And you can see we have all the data. It's nice in columns. We're pretty much good to go here. And we could filter this, aggregate it, do all that fun stuff. So I'm going to close this tab because I don't want this complaining. Now, this query is one that I built up a little bit over just kind of playing with this. And let me just kind of explain at a high level what's going on here. The API, because it's JSON format, if there are missing values, those get interpreted as null. And if we want to do charts and graphs, nulls don't work out so well. So I wanted to replace all those with zeros. So the coalesce function, that's what that does. Then I'm also calculating the per capita. It's actually per 100,000 in a given area. And that is done. We have to get the actual populations from the states and then join that with the data from the API. So the way I'm doing that is I have a spreadsheet that I found online, which is here. And if we run this query, we can see what's here. So this is what's contained in this spreadsheet. So we can join that directly with the data from the API. I'm going to close this now so we have memory with a simple SQL query. And the magic statement is right here, where we join the API data with the data from the CSV on the abbreviations column. And so once we do that, we can run this, and we can see now that we have the active per capita. Again, it's actually active per 100,000 people, and then the testing per 100,000 people. So we have those numbers now. Cool. All right. Now let's make a quick dashboard. And I'm just going to do 2 charts because that's enough to just kind of show you how this works. So to do this, we click on Explore. And the first thing we want to do is we're going to want to create a filter box. So we just click on filter box here. And the column that we care about really is going to be, the state column. So that, we're just going to label it state. And that's all we've got to do. All right. So just to show you what this looks like, that's it. And then it's going to have this, and yeah. So let's save this. We're going to call this filters, and we're going to add this to a new dashboard called COVID demo. Okay. All right. Now, let's actually do some analysis on this. So what we want to do is let's do a line chart here, and let's take a look at the cases, the trend over time. So what we want to do is we want to take the let's get the death rate. I'm just going to label this deaths, hospitalizations, and recoveries. That's a good one. Hospitalizations, recoveries, and active. Okay. All right. And we do not want a row limit. No time filter. Okay. Now, in case anyone's wondering, you notice these are aggregates. They are aggregates because we're grouping it by day, and there's only one entry per day. So, so that should be fine. We can use max, but this is we want it summed up because we want, if we're looking at all the states, we want it like sum per day. That's why I'm doing that. And so we can see here, wow, this is what this looks like. And if you want to, we can. This is pretty cool because we can zoom in on the time period. We can see here the lag and yeah, and we can turn individual metrics off. Okay. All right. So now that we have this, let's add this to our dashboard and save. Let's call it trends. Add to existing dashboard, COVID demo. Okay. Now, let's do a top 10 chart. And what we want is, let's do the per capita numbers that we calculated earlier. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to open up a new one here. And let's get the, well, let's do the per capita test. And okay. All right, and we're going to group this by state. So now we have this, and we can see what that looks like. Now, let's put a limit on this so we see the top 10. And now, what we have to do here is, if we want this, yeah, so set this to that. So these are the current numbers. These are not the aggregate really. So let's change the colors here, just because I don't love those colors either. All right, whatever. And let's add bar values. Wow. Okay. All right. So, and let's call this totals. And now let's save this to the existing dashboard. And let's add one more here. Let's just add, we're gonna add another bar chart, and we're just gonna add a simple totals. So we want this for the last day. We want the active cases, we want the hospitalizations, And just in case you're not clear about this, the reason why I'm typing these out is just because otherwise the label that's displayed is some parentheses, and that's just not so nice. So deaths and recoveries, because let's be optimistic here. Okay, all right, and we're going to group this by state. This is last day. Okay, run this sucker. There we go. Okay, and let's also just limit this to the top 10. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Let's change the color scheme, add bar values, sort the bars. Don't sort the bars. Okay. All right, let's save this. Totals. And add to existing dashboard, COVID demo, save and go to dashboard. Okay. All right. So now, let's just edit this a bit. Now we have to do one thing here. Filters. We don't want to apply this time range to the totals, because otherwise it's going to produce some crazy things. So yeah, so this will be correct data. These are the total. Oh, okay, this is why. Yeah, state. We want the state to be on all these. Yeah. That's why. Okay. There we go. All right. So now we have 1 day's worth of work. Okay, great. So let's just do one more thing here. I want this guy down here. I want this guy to take up more space, so because that's a time graph, we're going to want to see that. Let's kind of make this guy bigger, drag him over there, and make this guy bigger. Okay. All right. And let's save our changes. Okay, so now we have this beautiful dashboard, and now here's the cool thing. We can filter this, so if we want to see just what's going on in Delaware, for example, we can filter that down, and we can just see, okay, there were 3,000 active cases in Delaware, 152 deaths, 0 hospitalizations, and 1,200 recoveries. Now, this obviously the data is limited, and there's probably some discrepancies. Let's look at Maryland, see how Maryland's doing. Okay, so we have 4,500 hospitalizations, 19,000 active cases. Wow, that's quite serious. Let's take a look at New York. Wow, yeah, and you can see the time graph here, and again you can turn all these things off, and we can see what how this works. Now, in conclusion, what I want you guys to see from this is just how easy it is to use by using Drill and Superset to query live data from an API, join that with other data from a second source, and build an interactive analytic dashboards with that. So you saw it took us 15 minutes to do this. I kind of rehearsed it, so maybe it'd take you a little bit longer, but bottom line is it didn't take a whole lot of time, and it certainly didn't take any code writing. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, please post, or comments, please post them in the section below. Thank you. Have a good day.